From a generation that still knows what it is not to have abundance. But kids grow up thinking that, well, practically everything is available to them. It's a complete different starting point.
Well, yeah, I actually grew up right at the beginning, I would say, of abundance. So I mean, there weren't a million options because the world just didn't make a million options. But I didn't live in anything like a deprived childhood. But you're right, young people, it's all out there. Why should I have to settle?
Yeah.
And what young people say is, when I talk about this, he says, this is a problem for you old people. It's not a problem for us. We know how to handle all of this choice.
And do you think that is the case?
Nothing could be further from the truth. Young people are suffering from major psychological disorder. Huge incidents of depression and anxiety disorder. They graduate from school and they have no idea what they want to do with the rest of their life. They're in a romantic relationship and they have no idea whether they want to stay in this romantic relationship. They're looking not at their loved one, but over their loved one's shoulder in case somebody better is walking by. These people are miserable in the face of the best objective living conditions that have ever existed anywhere on the planet.
But they are not realizing what causes it.
They are not realizing how much they suffer from getting exactly what they want. They want all this freedom of choice, and the truth is they suffer. But it's hard to convince them.
I guess so, yeah. So we need limited choices to be to become a happier person.
Yes.
And we need practical wisdom to become to fight bureaucracy and
also to become a happier person.
And to become a happier person and a better person.
Yes.
But how do you think that we can restructure the systems to make room for that practical wisdom?
It's challenging. We have some examples in the book where people realized that they were not training, say, doctors in the way that they needed to be trained. Again, this is in the US. There's an enormous focus on technical expertise, and you need a lot of it in medicine. It's very complicated. No attention, really, to how one behaves with patients.
Yes.
And so a program was started, a little offshoot, part of the Harvard Medical School, where the focus really is it's not ignoring technical expertise, but it's really focused on teaching students how to manage patients, because they get patients and they have them for an entire year, and they see them with every problem that arises during that year, and they have an experienced physician looking over their shoulders to guide them and correct their little mistakes. So they get involved in the lives of the people they're serving. They're not treating organ systems, they're not treating diseases, they're treating people. And they come to respect how complex it is to manage disease in people who have other demands on their lives aside from just getting better. You know,
but do programs like these cost more money?
They probably cost more money, and we don't know that they can scale up like that.
Yes.
You're going to need to train a lot of physicians to teach in programs like this. I think they will unquestionably be money savers, and here's why. In the developed world, the principal medical problem that we face is managing chronic disease.
Yes.
We have solved the problem mostly of acute disease. Managing heart disease, managing high blood pressure, managing diabetes.
So a lot more patients with longer life expectancy.
These people don't get better. You can't cure these diseases, you manage them. You can't manage them without cooperation from the patient. If you're going to keep eating fat and sugar and be obese and not exercise and smoke, it doesn't matter what I do, you're not going to get better.
But how are you going to make all those organizations to look at this, look at the solution in this way?
Well, it turns out it's cost effective. This has been studied now in a handful of clinics. If you put emphasis on doctor-patient interaction with the aim of helping patients change the way they live,
yes,
you dramatically reduce the number of emergency room visits on the part of people who have multiple chronic conditions. So it may cost more money to train people to do this, but you end up saving 30 or 40% of the annual costs of the heaviest utilizers of medical care.
So
because
this good example will
if
do its work.
it will do
hopefully.
its work, you know, and with these savings, you can invest some of the savings in more labor-intensive training that will create more doctors who are better able to treat people rather than diseases, and will save money on the managing of these diseases.
So if you look at the current financial crisis, I'm sure most people would recognize a clear lack of practical wisdom over there, especially with the bankers. What do you think is the most important relation?
Well, so here I think the problem is a historical one. I think bankers forgot what the point of banking is. If you know, what does a banker say now? What do you do for a living? I think the answer is, I make money for a living. By any means possible. My job is to make money.
But was that different in any other way?
Bankers wanted to make money, but they were helping people start businesses, helping people buy houses, helping people save money for their retirements. They were members of communities. They cared about the welfare of the communities and the people in it. So they didn't do it for their health. They did it to make a profit. But their point was, profit was a byproduct of doing banking well.
And now it's the
only.
And how do you make people want to be a good person?
Well, so my optimistic view is that people mostly do want to be good people, and they are either prevented from indulging that because they can't, the workplaces won't allow it, or they are shamed out of it because all the high status goes to the sort of ruthless financiers who aren't interested in being good people.
Yes.
So it's not going to happen overnight that what I say in the book is that you need to remoralize most of the professional activities people engage in. And what I mean by that is not make the people who do the work moral, but make the activity itself moral. A good banker is somebody who does this, that, and the other thing to serve a community. A good lawyer is somebody who protects the needs of clients and also serves justice. A good doctor is somebody who eases suffering and cures disease.
Yeah.
This is what it means to be good at these things, and you can't be good at these things, we argue, unless you have practical wisdom. But nobody talks about that. People are embarrassed even to use that kind of language, that there's a good and a bad and a right and a wrong. There's
to me, practical wisdom sounds very feminine, and the financial crisis sounds very masculine.
Well,
that could be tricky, but do you think that...
I think to some degree you're right, because one of the essential ingredients of wisdom is being able to take the perspective of other people and empathize with them, and that, you and I both know, has been characteristically a talent and a role played by women. I don't think men are incapable of it, but it's the woman's job to tell the man what their neighbors need to hear.
Psychology, we have predisposition to...
Yeah, but I don't even know if it's a predisposition. I think it's just been sort of drummed out of men. You know, you have to go next door to your neighbors, and your neighbors they've been having a hard time with their marriage, and the guy waits for his wife to tell him how to talk to their friends. Because I don't know, you know, I'm a guy. How am I supposed to know?
Exactly.
So I think that in that respect, you're right. It is a feminization. And I also think probably that women are much more concerned about the moral dimensions of what they do than men are, and whether that's because they've sort of been sheltered from the cold, hard world of the market more than men, or whether it's something more fundamental, that I don't know. I'm inclined to think that the house is a haven from the harshness of the world, and you're trying to teach your kids to be moral. It's very hard to teach your kids to be moral if you're not.
Exactly.
So I think it's more salient to women as long as women are the primary caretakers in the family. But men are capable, with a certain amount of arm twisting, of asking themselves these questions and answering them.
Well, we appear to be at a crossroads. We just had the era of decadence and abundance, and now we seem to be entering an era of economic stagnation, less choice. What do you think is the effect on that, of the developing of practical wisdom?
It depends a lot on how long this lasts. I think that habits of the kind that you and I have been talking about are not changed overnight. And if we recover from the financial crisis quickly, I think people will go right back to being the way they were in 2005. If it lingers for a decade, we will see diminished expectations in the material world, which I think will give people more time to focus on the satisfactions that come from cultivating good relations with other people and the satisfactions that come from being able to say to yourself at the end of a workday, I've made somebody's life better today, because you're not going to be saying, I made myself richer. That's not in the cards. But you can say, I made somebody's life better. So if it lasts, we could see a reorientation of people away from material accumulation and consumption toward developing the very relationships to work and to other people that demand wisdom and that will cultivate wisdom. But who wants the financial crisis to last another decade?
No one.
No one. So that's a very big price to pay.
It is a
I'm
big
hoping
price to
there's
pay.
another way to get people paying attention to wisdom other than having everyone be unemployed for another 10 years.
I hope to talk to you then. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. It's really been
Barry
terrific.
Schwartz.
Thanks.
Practical Wisdom. Dit is het einde van Gesprek op 2. Volgende week dan zijn we er weer. En deze week kunt u op onze website www.gesprekop2.nl vinden wie dan onze gast is. Voor nu, hele fijne nacht.